Albie Amankona joins us this morning, commentator and co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism. Morning, Albie.
Good morning, Callum.
So no option off the table. I mean, of all the things we're talking about this morning, what do you prefer? Is it a warm home payouts quadrupling? Is it tax cuts? Is it a windfall tax?
I don't have a preference, but it's very clear to me that the government at some point this year will have to do more to help people through the cost of living crisis. Now, in fairness to the government, they have already or are already implementing a package of £22 billion to help the most vulnerable, which is, in normal times, a lot of money. But the issue is, Callum, is that it doesn't seem like it's enough money. And so these other proposals of windfall taxes and increasing the warm homes discount seem to be coming up. Now, the thing with the windfall tax is, I think the Telegraph has actually found that there's some internal polling that the party has done that's found that the windfall tax is actually wildly popular with voters. I think something like 8 in 10 voters actually agree with this policy. So I think it's probably something which we're going to see later on in the year.
Will that be considered an embarrassing U-turn for the government if they do go for it? Because they've been very, I suppose, defensive of the idea, saying, it would stymie investment, that these energy, sort of oil and gas companies with their massive profits, that actually they should be allowed to reinvest that. So would this be a cause of embarrassment if they had to change their mind?
Any government seeming to change its mind or doing a U-turn could be seen to be embarrassed, I suppose. But I think what's more important than a government being embarrassed about making different policy choices in difficult times is actually doing the right thing for voters and the right things for the British people. And people in Britain, millions of people up and down the country, are having real difficulty paying their bills. Oil and gas companies like BP have actually already said that they'll continue to invest in the UK, even if they're taxed extra. And we have also seen high-profile backbenchers like Ian Duncan-Smith and Robert Halfon come out in favour of a windfall tax. So I do think this is something which we're going to see probably before the autumn budget.
Is the government responding quickly enough to this crisis? Because energy bills take a lot of focus, and that's fine, and that's understandable. But actually, people's wages are lagging behind inflation. There have been tax rises in this new financial year, including in national insurance. And I just wonder, people are feeling the pinch right now, and if we're having to wait another couple of months at least for these measures to be announced, whether that is actually a kind of lethargic response.
I think that's certainly an argument. It's a very difficult situation, and we've just come off the back of the COVID crisis, of course, which battered government finances. I think the government debt interest servicing fees this year are set to be about £83 billion. So the government, I think, has been trying to both manage the debt situation, which is terrible, without making it worse by borrowing more, but also try and managing this cost of living crisis situation. It's juggling a lot of plates at the moment, and I think some of them have fallen and smashed.
Let's go on to one of the other stories of this morning then. The Prime Minister saying new laws announced yesterday are needed to fix the problems with the Northern Ireland situation. The Democratic Unionist Party says the protocol, which Boris Johnson's government signed when Britain left the EU, creates trade barriers between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. The Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, saying her preference is still to reach a negotiated settlement, but she confirmed the government will legislate to override the protocol if necessary. I just wonder if this is a war of words. We've been in a theatrical standoff in the past, haven't we, over the Brexit bill?
Yes, it does all feel very 2016 to 2019, doesn't it? All of this talk of the Northern Ireland Protocol and Brexit trade deals and trade wars and so on and so forth. And of course, we didn't end up in a trade war last time, and I very much hope that we don't end up in a trade war this time. But in order to reach a positive outcome, there needs to be good faith on both sides. And I think one of the problems which the government has with the application of the Northern Ireland Protocol is that there are some claims that something like 20% of all EU third country border checks are in fact in the Irish Sea in relation to Great Britain and Northern Ireland trade. Now, that is not a fair application of border checks, I would argue, between the EU and third countries. On whatever side of the Brexit debate you're on, I think it's fair to say that everyone's being a bit ham-fisted with the application of this Protocol. It's causing tensions between different communities in Northern Ireland. It's stifled growth, and particularly unionists feel that it's separating Northern Ireland from Great Britain and therefore threatening the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
Yeah. Mad infinitum is one of the headlines on this in the Times today. M&S chairman criticising Latin bureaucracy, the bureaucracy and pointless checks on food being sent from Britain to Northern Ireland. This is Archie Norman, who's been really railing against all of this. I wonder from a political point of view, Albie, to what extent this is really about the government seeing this as part of, kind of alongside the negotiations, this announcement and this sort of show of force, I guess, from Liz Truss yesterday. It's just about sending a message that ministers are prepared to act if they don't get what they want.
It is about sending a message, but I don't actually think it's about sending a message to the EU, Callum. I actually think it's about sending a message to the DUP. Because, of course, the reason why the government is in such a pickle, if you want to call it, at the moment, is because the DUP will not form an executive in Northern Ireland with Sinn Féin, because, of course, we had the Northern Ireland Assembly elections just a few weeks ago now. And so that's why we're seeing this inflection point now. The DUP will not form an executive in Northern Ireland until the Northern Ireland Protocol is resolved, which means the government in Northern Ireland cannot focus on the big issues for Northern Irish voters: the cost of living crisis, the post-COVID economic recovery, NHS waiting lists. And it's vital that the government acts to restore the Northern Ireland executive as quickly as possible, so that their elected representatives can focus on the priorities of the Northern Irish people.
Albie, always really good to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Callum.
Albie Amankona there, commentator and co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism.